They say the sensation of thoughts disappear through awakening and through a process of, let's call it revelation, the revelation of truth. That everything is in its wholeness has been experienced and there's no need for thinking. Yet most, even the most profound, awakened, enlightened gurus, monks, talk as if they're that person, that the thoughts are still there. Well, all of this is thoughts. These thoughts are not based on information, on knowledge. They're just arising. We have to use a language to express whatever we do in life. We don't need the language, but we have invented some need to communicate verbally or in a systematic way. You don't need to go out and say, a thought comes, I must tell someone I'm happy. You experience happiness. There's no thought towards why you're happy, what's creating this happiness. There's a sensation of being happy. So the thought becomes unnecessary. It becomes really just part of the experience. It fades. The thought and the experience, they come together and they pass, and so the body, the soul, the spirit, whatever you are, experiences this experience in a whole, and it passes. When a thought comes that is separate from an experience, a thought that in our natural way, mental, psychological state says, what am I going to do today? Okay, which means not present, future. Because today is not just now, it is in the next moment, the next hour. So what happens when that thought comes? Does that cause a new ego to evolve? The ego never dies, you see. What's taking place there is very simple. The thought comes, what am I going to do today? The space then says, who is thinking that? There's an automatic response from that what is beyond ego to say, who is thinking that? And of course the answer comes, the thinker is thinking that. And then you realize again that you have the ability to become the thinker. But then you say, and that's okay, because everyone else believes they are the thinker. And then another space comes in, says, well, but I'm witnessing the thinker. I witness the thought, and I witness the thinker of the thought. And that space is truth. That's your whole self. It's like that whole self is the teacher. When I was a child, when I was at school, I was informed. And we have a very poor way of informing or sharing a true version of our true experience. We have a very narrative way of sharing our true experience. So the teacher would say to me when I was young, you have to watch what you're thinking. Okay? Be careful what you think. Be careful what you say. Be careful what you speak. So the thought comes, I want to say something, and it wants to say something. And then I witness it, I say, well, that's me thinking about that thought. I have to be careful. And it ends. But what's taking place is the ego has stepped in front of the soul and said, no, I'll take care of it. And it stops that last stage process to say, yes, I see what I was about to think and express through words, but now I must realize that the one that sees it is also a part of that, what created it. So how am I just this thinker accepting the thoughts and being careful of the thoughts? Of course, that's how we're educated. What awakening enlightenment is to say, yes, but something perceives that. Something perceives something inside as a thinker, thinking about the thought that has become real and physical and word-based, and a possibility to do or not do something. That is existing, that is taking place. And the thinker is also taking place. But you take another step back and you say, I witness this. I am also part of this. There's no disconnection, because not when you watch the television, the TV's on, and you look away, Stevie's still on. And you know, whether it's through the sound or through the light, that there's still no disconnection. You know, when you're walking away from the sun, you know, the sun is still behind you because of what is taking place. There's no disconnection. So the one that witnesses the thinker, as the thinker, I am the thinker, but I am also the witness of the thinker, and the thinker is witnessing the thoughts, and I also witness the thinker as well as the thought. That's what they don't teach you. Because if you go back to the story of the Bible, there's you out here, then your father, and then your grandfather, and then great-grandfather, bum, 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 Adam and Eve, God. How far are you from God? You see? So when you're thinking, I'm only the thinker of the thoughts, how far am I from myself? How far am I from my true self? Can I witness myself witnessing the thoughts? And you can go even further. Can I witness the witness? And where is this witness? Where does this witness dwell? Where does it lie? Can I go that far back to meet God? Find yourself first. The power of the mind gives up when it knows that it's searching itself out as a rogue. So the power of the mind, which one are you? Are you the power of the mind, or are you the witness of the mind that thinks it has power? You sometimes know instinctively when you're watching the television and a president or a prime minister or a king comes on and they're talking about life and what they're going to do and what life's about. And you see this human being and you say, something inside, not about the words, not about what the content of the speech is, that one does not really know. That one is not the true one. That one is reciting. That one is just, is only producing from its halfway point, from its information, from its education, from its teaching. from its experience on that subject that that one is speaking about. That one knows much more but is not willing or not able or not clear enough in their seeing to understand that they are much bigger than what they are, much more wiser than what they are. So the wise sees themselves thinking, and the wise sees themselves thinking that I'm not the thinker. So therefore the thought is not for me. So therefore I can ignore the thought just as much as I can ignore the thinker. And that way everything just passes and I can be myself as I am.